conditions on what the pen can look like and the
Darcy,
size of it.
how do I get my
How many
computer
you
to
can
turn
have.
on? I've changed this, the off and on, more than once.
That's fine, and I'll get out of your way, so. That's not working. It's coming on. Hang on, I think I saw something go.
It did that once, but then it turned off again.
I think I'll
But
move
maybe
until
it'll stay on now
he
that you
shows
did
up.
it.
Then I might have to come back.
Okay, we are rolling, guys.
We are?
Yep.
Okay. We will call the personnel, this is the Crow Wing County Board of Commissioners Personnel Committee meeting on Monday, July the 20th, 2020 at 9 a.m. in the county boardroom in the historic courthouse to order. And our Human Resources Director, go ahead, Mel.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Today we have just one guest that'll be joining us, Gary Griffin, our Land Services Director. He wants to discuss a strategy that he has for his department. And so I think he has some handouts that he's handing out to you at the moment. And so I'll let Gary hand that out, and then we'll let Gary take it away.
Thank you and good morning.
Gary, pull the mic over towards you.
Yeah, you bet.
There you go.
Well, good morning, and today I wanted to start with just a little bit of history again and refresher for some on where Land Services is as far as staffing goes. Just a department-wide overview. So what I handed you there was in 2008, Land Services was created. They took these 4 or 5 departments, made them under one umbrella, and the focus was, don't worry about counting, if you will, how many people you have and how many you either can get rid of or add. Look at the processes, develop the need around the customer and around how efficient can we actually make, local government or county government for our situation. Anyways, without getting into if anybody has any questions, my big summary here is you'll see that we basically had 46 FTEs 2018. 12 years later, we're at 52 employees. So we have a total of 6 FTEs over 12 years that have been added. But if you see in the years 2015, 2017, we added 20 staff members to our staff from the Auditor Treasurer's Office and the Recorder's Office. So if you look down in the bottom of the notes, we actually have a net FTE count of negative 14 since 2018, which I think is just outstanding. I mean, I'm a guy that will tell you I think we should be accountable and effective, but we also need to make sure that we have that balance of not overwhelming staff as well. I wanted to lead you into that we're getting on average, about 325 new houses every year in this county built. So just about in the last 12 years since I've been here, that's been about the average. So think of a new home, and most of those, maybe half are second homes on the lake, but the other half are people that are living here, wondering about homesteading and stuff like that. And they all care about property taxes, right? And so the demands on the staff have increased over time more and more. And it isn't that we've had a blind eye to this. We've invested greatly in technology, and it has done wonders for us. And that's why we're able to handle a lot of this extra work without it. But what brings me here today is a proposal, a strategic initiative. Oh, thank you. Strategically thinking on how can we best move forward, producing the best high-quality assessments we possibly can, keeping our customers as best served as we possibly can. And the idea is to create a new position for the department. And what it would be is someone that would be focused on our tax CAMA system. Would have numerous different duties from you would have sales ratio analysis, regression analysis, sales ratio reports, reporting to the state, all kinds of different data extracts that more and more and more people want or almost start to expect from the county. What you'll see here is what we're proposing is we started or ended the 2020 with 52 employees. With this proposal, we would end 2021 with 52 employees. It would be eventually a net neutral, if you will. And how we would do that is a couple of different ways to kind of have the numbers work. Basically, we would look at no longer having an assessing services manager and having a supervisor, so it'd be kind of a lower grade. And we would, through attrition, not replace a assessment specialist position. I believe we can do that. There's a couple of key pieces in there that this position can do, and there's some other duties in there that could be shifted potentially to some other staff with a different proposal after this one. For 2021, you'll see that, and there's a lot of stuff on this page right here, but if you look at the middle, so you have that green bar in there, and you have the position, then you have 2021, if it was left as is, and replacing a retiree. And then that second column is 2021, and all the kind of tweaks, if you will, that I'm proposing. What you'll see is, at the end of the day on that, we actually could potentially save about $1,400 in what we're spending today by customizing and calibrating a strategic initiative doing this position. I do believe it's the best thing for the department. It definitely will help out some of the loads on the supervisors in that area. So I know that's a lot of stuff I've thrown at you right there. Any questions on that?
Any questions? You think this is the best way? You know, I think there's a lot of managers that come here, the county engineer, and they say, I think this is the best way to operate my operation, I guess, and you're thinking this is what you need to keep the wheels on things over at Land Services, I would assume.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and improve our operations, not just leave it status quo and actually improve it. So where we're still moving forward and not just sitting idle, but definitely not going backwards either.
And then this would be like one less supervisor then, supervisory position then, or?
It would be a one less manager, but we would still have a supervisor. So the supervisors would be the same amount yet for supervision.
And then would that supervisor pick up some more, when you do valuations, that
Yeah, they
person?
help in the valuations, but we do some more supervising too. You know, there's a lot of need there to ensure that we can, not that we don't do a good job now, I think we can do a better job and help coach and help develop staff at a higher level than what we do today.
Sure. Well, I think if this is what you need to run your operation, I guess I'm not gonna question it, so you've got my support, I guess, so.
My support also.
Tim Hool, County Administrator?
Gary, do you have a resignation for the
I do not.
assessment specialist?
I do not, and that is the one unknown as to when that will actually occur. In that middle column, we budgeted for 2 months in 2020 to try to, if you will, almost hedge the bet that we can make it to the end of February without a resignation, that we would have the funding for it. If that doesn't come, we would have to look at a different way to move forward with staffing.
So what I would just point out then is that if you don't have a resignation in 2021, then it's a $63,000 net levy impact.
But I would assume that, if you're presenting this, I would assume that there's somebody that's thinking about retiring in the wind then, is that, otherwise you wouldn't have obviously assumed that, correct?
Right, they had mentioned previously that they were going to retire in May, and of course, COVID-19 happened, and they have since just kind of, so they're gonna kind of wait and see how that all goes, but they
Okay.
still are interested in leaving the county.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Gary, the Tyler situation, I mean, that was really a pretty stressful transition. How are we coming on that? Because this person would kind of be
Sure.
overseeing some of that?
Oh, it has improved tremendously over the last, I would say, 3 months. We still have some, how you want to call them bugaboos, or really just leftover issues that we still need to resolve. But according to the main contacts that work with Tyler, it has gotten a lot better, and they have improved their service to us. But it's not totally 100% yet.
And I would just say that when different departments put together a budget, I think that's kind of a snapshot that they would like it to be, and obviously they are working towards that goal. But as let's say you put down, let's say we approve the 2000, or we do the preliminary budget in 2000, for 21 in September. Lord only knows what's going to happen a year later.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty hard to predict. It's the same thing with out-of-home placement or this COVID-19. So I guess you got to do the best projection you can at the time where you're at. And you have explained this in depth. So
And it's just something that, we don't spend a lot of time on, but if you go back to that negative 14 employees, if you will, because we do all the jobs that were done here plus since 2018. If you just average, let's say, 55,000 a year, and that's probably being conservative, even just for 5 years. We've been at this for 12, but not all of those were there for the whole 12 years. But for 5 years, that's a savings of $4 to $5 million to this county, and just what that land services reorganization did on the super conservative side, I believe. So all I'm asking is to consider, when we need to have a couple of strategic potential moves, that we're doing it, but we're trying to be very creative. We're trying to be very responsible, not to just say, oh, we should get those 14 back. By all means, I hope I'm kind of clear that that's not needed, but we are trying to be really smart about this next way to try to move forward the whole department.
Mr. Chair, if I might, Gary, you mentioned that if this individual doesn't retire, that you'll have to look at some other ways of financing that. Can you shed any light on what
Sure.
those might be?
Sure. This one position here, if it doesn't retire, we actually have potential 3 different retirees coming within probably a year. So while 2 of them, I would say, feel strongly would needed to be replaced, even the replacement, though, is probably coming in significantly less than what the current incumbent is. So we would have some savings in some of these, if you will, retirements moving forward that could help add 2 or 3 months potentially to a funding source to pay for a position while hopefully a retirement does come. We would like to try that first before potentially move forward with a potential, and I really hate to say, but a very potential early preliminary potential layoff if we had to. But I feel super strong. I wear it on my sleeve. If that means, you guys pay me a lot of money. If that means I need to take the haircut to make it up, then so do it. That's how strongly I believe in this. It's really important to the department.
And Steve, anything else? No. And I just want to say that in looking at this, the employees are going to stay the same. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to be, as moving forward, I'm going to be very critical of us hiring any new people in any department at all, because, I've kind of literally almost quit watching the news because I can't stand it anymore. But the little bit that I do, snippets that I do see, this COVID-19, this thing isn't over with yet. If there's a potential shutdown, which I think would be another shutdown, would be a huge mistake. We don't know what's ahead. And for us just going on and hiring another 9 people, I just don't think would be in the best interest of the citizens of Crow Wing County. So I'm going to be very critical of any new hires moving forward. So, but it looks like it's kind of a wash here. And yes, County Administrator.
So from a budgeting perspective, what I need you to understand is it is another FTE. It is another FTE until you have the resignation. When you have the
Correct.
resignation, and so for 2021, as it sits right now, this will be an additional budgeted FTE, and it will drive our budget by 60,000.
Okay. So are you advocating, or you're just giving us the information?
I just want to make sure you understand,
Yeah.
because you will look at other people and say that very same thing.
Yes.
And they're going to look at you and say, well, you did it here.
Well, it's like I just said, I think you have to go with the best information that you have at the time, and at least sitting here right now, I mean, I wish I could project what's 6 months from now, but I can't, so I'm going to have to just go with
Well, and
what I know
wish-
right now.
I wish we could say, and I think we can say to the other departments who come forward and say, oh, well, you did it here. Well, you don't have 14 less staff than you did in 2008. That's a big difference.
Anything else for Gary? It seems like you've got a consensus. Anybody objecting?
Mr. Chair, I would only caution to Tim's point that we need to be aware of that, and even to the other commissioner's remark that, you know, we can still say that they didn't lose 14 positions over the course of time and some have added. To me, one of the things that you have to remember is that things are required by certain departments, whether it's the sheriff's department or the judicial or whether it's community services, that are required by action by the state, not by the inaction of the county. And so, true, they might not have they might not have lost 14 positions. However, they may have had to increase due to those other requirements that the state puts on us. So, and that's something that we as a board don't even have control over. You know, they decide that we have to do something and we have to comply. And it's frustrating as a board
Correct.
to be the underling, so to speak.
As we are the underling of
Correct.
state government, as Mr. Hool has told us countless times, they're the parent and we're the child, so.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know, hey, folks, these are tough times. I think they're difficult budgeting times. You know, I look back, I saw an ad in the Brainerd paper about, and it reminded me of our 8 years of zero levy. I saw that over the weekend, that this person was really proud of it. And I'm still proud of it. I mean, at this county, we did something that no other county has ever done, and probably will never do, of having a zero levy or less for 8 years in a row. And we made a decision at that time with the best information that we had at that time. And I look back to when we passed the sales tax. Yes, I voted no. I didn't agree with it. As I grow and learn and see, I made the wrong decision there, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But I'm telling you, folks, we're making the decision at this time. God only knows what's going to happen 6 months or a year from now, but we're doing the best we can with the information that we have, and at least the way Gary explained it to me, I don't know, it makes sense to me. I think there's a lot of balls in the air over there, work-wise, and I still don't understand how he gets it all done. I guess the only thing I was gonna say is, I know that we've done a lot of, I don't know, tricks isn't the right word, but a lot of maneuvering of, for example, like landfill money is kind of a dedicated fund, and I know that some of your staff has, they're doing some work that's landfill related, and you've shifted part of that, their wages on there. And do you think that you've maybe, have you used up every trick in your bag, if you understand where I'm coming from, as far as trying to figure out,
Yep, and I would.
And I would say something that, and this is to Tim Hool, I remember when we were putting, and I don't, time goes by so fast, I can't remember what year it was, but I can remember when we were putting together a budget, and we were projecting for the sheriff's department on how many people that they would get from the Minnesota Department of Corrections. That's just a projection, and that could change. That changes, and as it did. And that revenue, some of that revenue didn't come in like we thought it was going to, but we did the best we could at the time, correct?
Mr. Chair, to your point,
Yeah.
we always do the best we can with the available information.
Right.
And that's what we did in that case. It did come in. It has changed over the course of time,
Exactly,
but it did come in
yeah.
in the year that we budgeted. We have to react to the changes. We now know, for instance, that the DOC revenue is going down, and we're going to have to react to that. That's a budget challenge for us in 2021. There should be some offsetting, I think, staff expense as well. Gary and I had a conversation about the shift that you're talking about, and there are some changes that are in the 2021 budget that I probably will want to revisit with Gary about not shifting away from. And he and I have talked about it already, so it's not news. 2021 may not be the year in which we can do that. So we do try to maximize the degree to which we can charge our most restrictive funds first. The levy is the most flexible dollar. And so we charge our most restrictive funds as much as we can first to give you maximum flexibility when it comes to setting the levy.
Kind of using that bag of tricks that I was just talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely.
In essence, okay.
Absolutely.
It's just creative budgeting, I call it.
Right, and so do you feel like you've,
Well, I think we do a very good job. I gotta say, we're also trying to be strategic there. I hope we have great weather on Friday, but as we sell more and more of our assets as far as land goes, that makes up about 45% of our overall revenue for a big chunk of in our land asset and timber management area. We also, of course, I'm going to talk about the funds we have in our recording, but the more and more we do and the better job we do, that's great. It's just going to drive those revenues down. So we have to strategically go, at what point can we not fund, so much salary over there? And that's what I was looking at this year. And maybe, me and, like Tim said, we talked about it, and maybe I got a little more aggressive shifting, than thinking, you don't want to have to come back here and say, I underperformed. You're trying to make sure that you hit the numbers.
yeah.
So that's just all we're
So
trying
you
to
might want to get a plug-in for your land sale then, because, and I will say, did you pay for some ads on the radio?
do. Yes,
Because
yep. So we
I think
got,
that was a good idea, because I actually
more
heard it
aggressive.
several times, and it was a very good ad. And I don't think I've ever heard an ad for land sales before, and I think that might be,
Yeah, we put out about 90 signs at strategic properties, so when
Okay.
people are driving by, they go, oh, I didn't know that was a tax forfeited lot, so just another little way to kind of look. We
Okay.
we were gonna run an ad in the Star Tribune, but it didn't really pencil out, and we couldn't get the days we really wanted, so we
Okay.
didn't do that. But
So when, just tell when it is and
We're at 10
where
o'clock
it's at.
on Friday, July 24th. We're hoping to have it right out here because of the coronavirus. We were going to have it outside. We're kind of really watching the weather. We may need to, potentially even get a tent set up, if the weather's going to be too bad.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm investigating if it's really bad weather, if we try to do a option like out at the curling center or something where we could have a lot of space, people in there, but a lot of space. But I've been really crossing my fingers that it'd just be good weather and we could just have it outside.
Okay, any other questions to Gary on his proposal? Nope, thanks, Gary.
Well, I had one other
Oh,
thing I wanted to share with you folks. This happens to do with our customer services area. And so the long story on this is, which I'm trying to make short, of course, is we hired a customer service position in early to help gear up for some administrative things we may needed to have done with our licensing ordinance for our short-term rentals. While that didn't materialize for 2020, we did go ahead and lay off that position. While I think we figured out a solution we're going to handle most of that ordinance with very little customer services staff. We have another big need in the department, and what I'm asking for here is to go ahead and rehire that position using the funds because of all the documents that we've recorded this year. You'll see all the numbers here, and when the recorder's office came over, they had a total of 9. We currently are sitting at 7, so we're not greatly diminished in numbers. But the one thing that we operate there is we don't have a lot of flex when we get spikes in document numbers. We haven't gotten to a position where we have a flexible team because everybody's so busy, I guess I could just say. And I'm not saying that to be whiny or anything, it's a fact. What we're looking at, though, is if we could get a customer service position back, the one that we laid off, it would take about $26,000 to fund it for 2020. We think we're going to have at least $32,000 in the general fund on the course that we're at. And that's not in addition to we dump a bunch of money in the recorder tech fund and the land-based unallocated fund. They all three get funded, and this is the $46 per document that at the time of recording. And so you'll see there for 2020, we've already got 10,000 documents recorded. In the queue today, I asked Mr. Hanson, our document recording supervisor, what do we have in queue? Those are the documents waiting to be recorded and executed. 668 as of to date, and that's before they went over and picked up the mail. And so typically we're around 300. For an example of how busy it's been, we recorded 2,200 documents in the month of June. That's the most documents we've recorded since 2007, before the Great Recession. That's how busy it is as far as document recording. And while we have flexed, a assessor and trainee is flexed over there currently to try to help up, we have a customer service counter person doing all the scanning for them to try to help them keep up. There's still that many documents continue to come in. And so the ask here is to just go ahead and move forward to replace that position. And of course, the funds should be there to cover the expense. But the help is needed. The long-term vision for that customer service team is to continue to get more flexible staff that can help at the counter and or go help record documents depending where the spikes are. So while we have a little bit of, they help a little bit, we still have kind of two very separate, distinct duties that occur in that team. And there's this reality of how much can one person know and do at a high level, and so that's the other thing. We don't want to push too much, and then you just have watered down if you will, results because they're trying to do too much. You know, we're all human, and there's only so much you probably can be an expert in. But are there 2 or 3 pieces that we can continue to train and get ourselves in a position so we can flex our staff and not have to potentially add back when things are high volume? At the same time, of course, it's just like you mentioned the jail, I guess, or anything. We have a huge influx in documents. And I believe we have 3 or 4 years of project work, but I'm not even talking about that. If the documents went back down and we weren't getting the revenue, then a decision would have to be made then too, you know, if we need the staff or not.
So this is hiring the person or a person that was laid off, or?
Yeah, we had it in the 2020 budget, but we knew the revenues then. Once we kind of knew when the ordinance doesn't go into effect till January 1st of 2021, we knew the revenues weren't coming in. So we're like, well, we got to make some tough decisions to try to get in front of a budget hole there.
So how is your budget right now as far as, are you on track? Or-
Overall? Yeah. Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, we're doing monthly budgeting, so I'm
Yep.
assuming, okay,
Yeah, we're definitely on track.
okay. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, just out of curiosity, how, we're talking now 2 positions here, potentially. Does this play with the SMT group and the discussions that take place there in how you wrestle with the budget that you'll throw at us in the coming months here?
I hadn't seen any other SMT budget other than kind of numbers. I don't know. I know who's asking for what FTEs, but I don't know what they need and why. You know, we haven't had those conversations. All I do know is it's like every year. You get the nod from last year, you got a nod from Tim or you didn't, because we didn't all agree. I mean, it just is what it is. But we did come to an agreement with the decisions, and I stand behind that by all means. But it's hard to sometimes see the needs of others when you have so much needs in your own department, and it gets to be very difficult or challenging. But the proposal here for us, most of this is funded, you know, with eventually 0 additional FTEs. So this one was already in the budget. So to me, this is different than if somebody's asking for a new FTE. Just explaining that our document counts are, I mean, when we say prior to Great Recession, those were some tremendous years. And at least for document recording, that is what we're facing today. It's unbelievable. And again, you know, will that slow down in Q3 or Q4? All I have is, I know we have people calling, going, why is it taking so long to get my document recording? And I'm just looking to figure out how to get that done, you know? So this one's a tough one because it's another need that's like, I hate to say it, Commissioner Barrows, but almost like, you know, now, because it just continues to grow and grow. And we've plugged the hole with flexing that assessor over, but they're going to need to go out and do some assessing here quick too, because that bubble's growing. So it's just kind of like just trying to juggle the balls, if you will.
Anything else? Didn't seem like there's any objection, so
Is that what, silence is a good thing?
I think silence seems to be a good
Funds in
thing.
the budget already, so
Yeah, well, yeah.
This one was, but we did use some of the funds to help offset some of the lack of revenues already. But we should have them back now with all the document recording.
Mr. Hool,
Mr. Chair, members, what I would like to see, Gary, is an end-of-year projection for the revenue that you're going to generate, just to make sure that the costs are covered. Generally speaking, in the recorder's office, that is the case. As documents rise, they generate more revenue. I would just like to see where you think that's going to end up. As I look down the list, January, February, March, every month it has exceeded the 2018 and the 2019 totals.
Yep.
So as we project it out, it should. But I just want to make sure that the numbers work out.
Did you get this? In the notes, I got the projection down here, Tim, in the middle. So we project at least 17.5 in additional revenue in the tech fund, 20,000 in the land-based unallocated fund. Sorry, it kind of didn't print right. And then in general revenue, an additional 32.5. So an additional 32.5 over what we've already budgeted. And if we were to hire somewhere in mid-August, this would cost us about 26. So there should still be extra money in the general fund even after we would pay for this position in 2020. If that makes, does that help you?
So it's the 193 plus the 32.
Correct. Yep.
Or is the 193 the total?
The 193 is just total to date, but we project based
Oh,
off of that is that,
It's the 253.
yep, that
Plus
we're gonna,
32.
it's basically 253, and we believe there's gonna be another over 30,000 additional to that.
Okay. And so what I don't know is what was the revenue into the general fund in 2019 and 2018? Because that's where it's going to come from, is the general revenue fund.
So general revenue, 332,000 in 19, 322 in 18.
Am I not seeing that, or?
That's right up here.
Is that what you just asked? Here's your general revenue for
Yep.
2019 and 18. So halfway through the year, we're basically,
253 plus the 32.5 below, correct?
oh, I see what you're saying.
Is that correct?
The 253, I believe, is to, yeah, because we budgeted less, actually. Yeah.
And so then what I'm looking to compare that total to is what was that general fund total in 2019 and
Oh, I
and
gotcha.
2018?
I got you. Yeah, I
And we
can
want to
get you
make sure that
Yep,
that
I can get you
margin
that.
is sufficient to cover.
Yep.
Otherwise, that's a levy driver. And it shouldn't be. I don't think it will be. I just want to verify.
Yep, got it.
Anything else on that?
So, Chairman and Commissioners, just to answer Steve's or Commissioner Barrow's question about other SMT members maybe having some concern over positions, and, you know, everybody wants to vie for, you know, additional staffing, but I think this, you know, the long-range strategy is, you know, should this position stay within land services, or should it belong in the first position that Gary is talking about? Or should it really belong in, underneath that IT umbrella at some point? Because Gary has two very niche systems that run the whole land services department. And I think that you'll hear that more of a long-range strategy from our leaders, that maybe that's where the strategy has to go down the road. So, you know, that's just one of the concerns for a few of our SMT members that, you know, I've learned about. And I think it is important that we have that long-range strategy, so.
I guess a question that I had brings up another question in my head is, okay, so you got other SMT members that I would assume they probably don't know what's happening in Gary's department, and Gary doesn't know what's
Correct.
happening in Tim Bray's department, and Tim Bray comes forward and he says, I need a new person, and Gary says, no, I don't think you need a new person. How does Gary know that?
Right.
How do other SMT members know that? They don't know that, I don't think. And to me, us five are elected here. We're the ones that are making the decisions. I have to go out and talk to my constituents about why their property taxes have went up. I'm the one that has to feel the brunt of it.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're not going to the SMT, and then that's not getting to the county board. We are the policy, that's the way this works in this system that we have, is at least until I'm unelected, you know, I'm going to be fighting to be able to make the decisions. I'm not a rubber stamp. I mean, I don't know, maybe some people want to be that way here, but I don't want that. I want to be making the decisions, whether it was right or wrong. I've made wrong decisions, believe me, but I'm elected to make that decision, and you can see that I'm getting pretty kind of wound up
If
about
I
that.
can help with your understanding, Paul, I do believe that we have evolved with the SMT as well as, my understanding is any senior leader can present their ideas or beliefs, I guess, if you will, as far as staffing or any budgetary item to you guys. We just have to let Tim know what we're gonna say, so that Tim can fill in the blanks if he believes that, we have missed or, if you will, because I think we all agree you guys just need obviously you're the decision makers, and you just need all the facts.
Right.
And there's.
And I just don't want it to be filtered before it gets here,
Right.
is what I'm getting at.
Sure,
don't know
and
if that
I
makes sense.
believe, and I'm one of the newer SMT members, and I believe it's better now where we don't have to agree, We can disagree respectfully if we need to, and we try not to cut each other's, if you will, tires. At the same time, if somebody says, if I don't get this position, the sky's gonna fall, I mean, that's pretty hard to argue with, but, I think we're getting in or have arrived at a better way to make sure that if we feel strong enough that you guys need to know something, that we're allowed to speak with you, I guess. Would that be fair to say? Yeah.
That's exactly what you told us. All right, sounds good. All right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Gary.
So, and then Mel, are you going, is that it for the public personnel actions, or, because is this document here, is that, are you gonna go through that now?
We'll go, no, in just a second, we'll go through that, Commissioner. We'll go through personnel actions for
Okay.
next. You'll have a copy of that personnel action in your packet that I gave you.
Yes?
We just have one personnel action, actually, as of today, that is on the report. We have a new hire as a correctional officer, replacing one that left us. Brian Cargill is his name, replacing a Tyler Winkles.
And that's it?
That is it.
Okay, that's easy enough.
So, yeah, as of today. So you may have more, when you go to the board meeting, but, we've been really, our teams have been really good at holding back on immediately hiring somebody just to help to control some of that hiring or that immediate hiring as we go through the COVID-19. So, and then the other thing that I wanted that we do have on the open session is just employee wellness. We several years ago, and Tim, you may be able to tell me what year that you guys used to have our public health team doing flu shots for our staff, or offering them. We have and then we quit it a few years ago, and then employees could go to their own clinic. We have had the opportunity to bring flu shots back on site with the impending, flu season coming up. We have the ability to contract with Guide Point Pharmacy, who currently already does flu shots for our jail staff. There's no cost to the county whatsoever. They take care of all the billing that happens with our insurance company, and the county doesn't have to pay for any setup fee or any administrative fee. Guide Point takes care of all of that. The reason I put that on the agenda is I believe that we will have to enter into some type of a contract with Guide Point for them to offer that service. So that'll be, I would assume, some type of resolution in your board consent packet. So, and Tim could speak to, I'm not sure of the history, so.
Mr. Hool?
Mr. Chairman, members, we used to do this, but we used to do it with public health staff. And that's why we got out of this business, because as you drive down Highway 210, you can see all sorts of places that will give flu shots. It was convenient to have it on site. I think employees liked it. It's just we didn't want to incur the expense associated with it. And so if Guide Point is willing to do that for us at no cost on site, Seems like, but it would need like a memorandum of understanding, something. There's no dollars exchanging, but just an understanding of the terms.
Makes sense to me.
Okay, that was it, Commissioner, for
Open session.
open session.
So just before, you've got this, this is going to be
Closed
a
session.
presentation of a labor strategy.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So just so we're doing this the right way, because I found out that, Mr. Hool, you're not on the hook for a fine if we're doing something wrong. Apparently, the elected people are, if we're not going by the statute. No, I don't think we're doing anything wrong at all. Yeah. Yeah. But it looks like, to me, we've got everything down here exactly the way we're supposed to be. So what we'll be doing now is we will actually be going into closed session, and the first thing is going to be labor negotiation. Do you want to go right down the list here? Or which one do you want to
Yeah,
do?
let's do the labor
Labor
negotiation
negotiation
strategy.
strategy pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03, subsection 1B. And that's why we will be going into closed session is for labor negotiation strategy. Does that sound right? And so we'll go into closed session.
All right, I will stop recording.